Hey everyone, I am Makennah. This is the Exoplaknits knitting journal. Today I have a very special project in mind that I wanted to do with you all. I actually want to re-knit my first ever knitting project. So this involves an explanation of how I started knitting. I basically wanted something to do with my hands that would still allow me to think, because I'm a very anxious person and I tend to distract myself a lot. So I started knitting in order to alleviate anxiety and just to give me something to do with my hands. And I started doing this back in 2020. And because I am an ambitious person, or just, I don't know, that type of person, I decided the first project I wanted to start on ever would be a cardigan, because I love wearing cardigans, and I just figured that would give me the motivation to get through the learning, aim for an actual thing that I wanted to wear. So I started with a cardigan, and at this point I didn't know about Ravelry, I didn't know anything, so I went on Etsy and looked for patterns, and I ended up knitting the Adelia cardigan by Madison Marie. This is your first glimpse of it. I'll do some B-roll of me wearing it and all the things, all the details of it. When I started learning how to knit, I taught myself mostly from videos, so this was actually a pretty good beginner pattern, even though it is a cardigan. The designer actually has video tutorials of every single little step, so she has a video of how to do the knit stitch, how to do a cast on, every tiny little thing she has a video of, so that was really cool, and it was included within the pattern. I will say the pattern is not size inclusive, which I didn't know to look for at the time. So I wouldn't necessarily recommend it these days. I also think there are much better cardigan patterns out there, especially this one was kind of misleading, because in the photo on the actual pattern, the cardigan has a button band, or it at least has buttons on it, and the pattern does not include any information for how to do buttonholes or a button band. It's just an open cardigan. So that was a little annoying, but I don't know, it's just misleading. I don't like that it was misleading like that. But buttons would have been kind of difficult as a beginner knitter anyways. So in my journey with this, I essentially re-knitted it a million times, because I kept getting holes in it, which eventually I figured out was me doing accidental yarn overs. But there were also a million other problems, and there still are problems with it because it's my first project. The cuffs are way too tight, there's no elasticity in them, so I can just barely fit my hands through them. And then the mattress stitch I did to seam the sleeves to the body is also way too tight, so it's uncomfortable around my shoulders. And then it's just not well knitted because it's my first garment, you know? There's also this, where'd it go? There's an accidental cable. I don't know how I managed this, but you can see it there. I accidentally cabled it somehow, don't know. So there are a lot of problems. However, I have worn this cardigan so much. It's super comfortable, and obviously proud of what I made, and it's just a good thing to throw on over anything, so I've worn it a ton. And at this point I've stopped wearing it as much because I have other knitted cardigans, and this this one just doesn't fit super well, so I don't wear it as much anymore. But I would love to save the yarn. Because when I started knitting, I sort of approached learning about all of the knitting things in a slightly backwards way. I started with looking up yarn and wool because I was worried about the ethics of the sheep, and I wanted to make sure that any yarn I knitted with was like ethical and from sheep who were happy, because I do think wool can be harvested ethically, but I also have seen the videos of sheep not being treated very well, and was wary about like commercial yarns. So I just did a lot of research about wool and yarn in general, and I ended up, for my first ever project, I ended up going with Malabrigo, because they were like, they're somewhere in between like the commercial and the luxury yarns in terms of pricing. So it's like cheaper than hand-dyed yarn, but it is more expensive than commercial yarn. And from what I can tell, the company is pretty good about taking care of their sheep. They're definitely mulesing free, which I found out what mulesing was right off the bat, and made sure that any yarn I buy is free of that, which I think most yarn is these days. But yeah, so I decided to, like, I got an Etsy gift card for my birthday that year, so I spent that gift card on all of this yarn and a pair of needles, and I went with this Malabrigo Mecha yarn in the color Plomo, which is 43. It's 100% superwash merino, and it's a bulky weight yarn. I didn't know what superwash was at the time. Nowadays I usually avoid superwash because of the like plastics and the processing, although I do think it has its place. For instance, it's very soft and smooth, and I love that about it. And sometimes my sensory issues just need the softness of superwash yarn, you know? It's very nice. So it's this really nice, like, purpley gray color that is quite marled. Not marled, I guess. I guess it's like lightly variegated, so there are lighter and darker purple bits. And I don't know, I did some like bad beginner knitter math and ordered like 7 skeins of this yarn, and which I did not need for this cardigan. I don't know how many I used, but I had a lot left over, so I also made 2 cabled hats, one with a pom-pom and one without. And while I like these hats, they are a bit tight even on my head, and I have a pretty small head, so I don't really wear it. I don't wear them much. So my plan is to completely frog all of these and just totally start over. Like, make this, I'm gonna follow the same pattern but adjust it to be more in line with the things I know I like in my cardigans. Like, I'll make it a little bit longer, and I might add a button band, we'll see when I get there. But I'm gonna frog all of it and knit it back up so that I'm completely re-knitting my first ever project. I don't know, it just feels right, because I don't want to waste this yarn, but I don't wear these items anymore because they're the first things I ever made and they don't fit super well. So I'm very excited, and I don't know if you can see, I'll try to include some B-roll of these too, but this hat has been worn a lot less than the other hat and the cardigan, and the yarn is in much better shape, so it's a lot like crisper, whereas this is a duller color and has a lot more fuzz to it. So I am a little worried about combining this crisper, newer yarn with the more worn-in yarn, but it's fine. I'll make it happen. I'll use this for the button band or something. We'll see. But yeah, so with all that being said, here's some footage of me working on this. I'm very excited to get to it, so let's do it. Rocking cardigan. These are all the balls that I got from it, and fell asleep on the couch with my cat. And now I'm rocking a hat. Yay. I was like, why is this so hard to unravel? And then I realized it's the cast on edge. I have to go to the top of the hat. But it's really hard to find the end. So I think we're gonna have to cut some things because I can't find the end of the yarn. Alright, hat number 1 is done, and I think I'm actually gonna leave hat number 2 as is, just in case I don't end up needing this yarn, then I can donate the hat or something. So I will see you all whenever I cast on the new version of this cardigan, which will probably be either later tonight or tomorrow after I get off work. I'll see you then. Hi. So, it's the next day, and I just spent a little while making a giant swatch from the yarn I frogged. We have 2 different needle sizes going on here. On the bottom we have a 9mm, and on the top is a 10mm. The pattern calls for 10mm, and that's what I used when I originally made it. But as you can see, the 10mm is really holy, because this yarn isn't quite as bulky as the yarn in the pattern calls for. So I think I am gonna go down the needle size just because I like the fabric better, but I'm gonna go up a size in the pattern, so I'll knit a medium-sized cardigan instead of a small, just so that I get a cardigan that fits, because neither of these actually meet the gauge laid out in the pattern, because it needs a bigger yarn. But yeah, now I'm gonna start actually knitting it. So, it's been quite a while since I last spoke to you. A lot happened. I found out that I am not allowed to knit at work while I'm like sitting at the circulation desk at the library, which is unfortunate, so I've just been reading at work instead, like in my downtime between helping people. But here's a little clip of me knitting a little bit at work before I found that out. And then I also, one of the patrons at work actually saw me knitting prior to that, and he commissioned a project from me. He wanted me to re-knit a Viking helmet for him, because he had one that he had worn a bunch and he just wanted to make some changes. So he commissioned me to make that for him, and I did. So it took me a while. I just focused on that for a long time. And I finally finished that, so just the other day I picked up this cardigan project again, and I have now knitted basically the whole thing. I am in the process of seaming it together, so it's still in pieces. I'm almost done. Unfortunately, this is all of the yarn I have left, so I'm not gonna have enough to do a button band, which I'm really sad about because I thought I would have enough. But oh well. At least the cardigan is a lot bigger, and I've been trying it on as I go, and it fits a lot better. So I'm happy about that. Yeah, so I will update you again once it's done, and I'll show you how it looks. Alright, here's a noodle. we are coming to the end. It's all seamed up now. There's obviously still a lot of ends to weave it, but it's pretty much done. I do still wish I could put a button band on it. I guess I could just sew buttons on one side, because these holes are definitely large enough to stick a button through. I might do that. I mean, you know, I don't know, maybe this would be enough. Maybe I'll try to make a button band. Okay, we'll see. I'm probably gonna try it because I like buttons. Okay. But hold on. Look at the length though. It's so much better. So much better. The arms are a little long for my short little self. But like, it's fine. I can pull them up. And they fit better than they used to, so. Yay! Excuse me. What are you doing? It's too big. I finally finished it for the second, or I guess third time, and it's now perfect. I love it so much. I put a ribbed button band and I did a tubular bind off, and let's see, did I follow the pattern? Sort of. I more used it as a guideline. Like I ended up, when I reknit it again, I went way down in needle size, so the fabric is much nicer. It's a much tighter fabric, not so many big holes, and I just kind of had to do my own math and cast on a bunch more stitches than called for, but I did use the like general decrease rates from the pattern, at least for the v-neck here, and then I used the same like front and back pattern essentially. But when it came to the sleeves, the pattern calls for them being knit top down, but I wanted to do them bottom up so I could get them to be the right length, basically. So I did it that way, and so the cuffs now match the actual bottom hem, so they're like actually a cast on edge instead of a bind off, and I just did regular increases until it fit. Yeah, and then I think at some point I stopped and just knit straight, and then I attached it with a mattress seam, and then did a ribbed hem all the way around with a smaller needle size, and I added 3 buttons. These are from an Etsy shop. I'll try to find it and link the shop below. But yeah, I am super happy with it. It is extremely warm. I got cut off. My card was full. But I was saying it's been almost 80 degrees here for the past few days, so I can't really wear it anymore. It's too warm. But I will be wearing it a lot in the future, that's for sure, because it's so soft and I love it. I'm very excited to have it finally done. Yeah, so I guess that's the end of this little vlog. Thank you for coming on this journey with me. It was a long one. It definitely took me a long time. I don't even know when I started this. Like, it's been a long time coming. But yeah, we knit a whole cardigan, and then we tore it apart and knit it again, and now we're good. So, I'll see you all in the next one. Bye!